Well, statistics show us that today alone, 2 classrooms full of children will be diagnosed with cancer. Our next guest knows all too well about that, diagnosed with pediatric cancer 3.5 years ago.
But after 14 rounds of chemotherapy, surgery to remove a hip, and countless hours of rehabilitation, 13-year-old Malcolm Sutherland Foggio is here today on a mission to make some noise about pediatric cancer research. Malcolm, thanks for coming in.
Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, start me at ground zero. What is pediatric cancer?
Well, pediatric cancer is cancer that kids get from ages 1 to 21.
All right, so it's like childhood cancer.
Even before birth as well.
Oh, really?
Okay. Yeah.
Wow.
Now, you have an interesting story. Tell us your story.
Well, I was diagnosed with Ewing sarcoma, which is a bone tumor in my hip, and that was in December of 2008. And I had 14 rounds of chemotherapy, and after 6 rounds, I had surgery to remove my hip. And that was done by Dr. John Dormans in the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, and he's one of the top surgeons of the pediatric oncology world. And he did a great job, and so for the next 7 rounds of chemotherapy, and I would just have rehabilitation, physical therapy, and try and get myself back to where I was before the surgery.
Now, how did you find out about it in the first place?
It was actually during a soccer practice, and it was the end of the practice. We were doing sprints to midfield, and I just heard something pop in my hip, and I just collapsed, and I couldn't walk. And we went to the orthopedist the next day, and he said that it was a broken growth plate in my hip, and he told us to come back in 2 weeks. So we did, and we came back, and the growth plate had healed, but I still wasn't feeling 100%.
So everybody's still thinking it's an injury.
Right. So we came back in another 4 weeks, but by 2 weeks I couldn't stay asleep at night because the pain was so bad in my hip. So we went in that week and asked them to give me an MRI, and that was still another 2 weeks until we got that. And once that was finished, the doctor called us in and said, "You have to go to the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia."
Wow.
But it took a lot of your mom, really talking to the doctors and saying something's wrong. She's a good advocate for you. Well, Make Some Noise Cure Kids Cancer is actually a foundation that you have started. How did you come up with the idea?
Well, right off the start, I sold wristbands for research at CHOP, the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, and through that I raised $13,000 for research there. And I figured that's what I could do without trying. I wanted to know what I could do when I really tried. So that's when I started brainstorming the idea of having a foundation and raising funds for pediatric cancer. But what really set me off was a night on the oncology floor after my surgery. I heard a mom scream out, and it wasn't until the morning after that I realized that her son had died. And he was 2 years old. His name was Michael.
Wow.
And that inspired me to start the foundation. We bought the domain name that night, and I just told my mom, I need to start a foundation.
Now, a big part of this is the National Angel Quilt.
Yes.
Right? Tell me about that.
About a year after we started the foundation, my mom had 4 families that she knew lost their children within 2 weeks, and that really kind of rocked her world. And she thought of how powerful the AIDS quilt was, and that it showed that it wasn't just people that were kind of
Yeah, not just bad.
It wasn't just men. It was women and children.
Oh, okay.
It was, and so we thought how powerful it would be if it was kids. If we showed the children that we've lost to cancer, and we wanted to showcase all these children that we've lost. In the past 10 years, we've lost about 1 million children across the world to cancer.
And this quilt is actually touring the country. Tell us about the angel that inspired your trip to Salisbury, Wayne Bailey.
Wayne Bailey lives here in Salisbury, and his family contacted us after they sent us a picture of him, and
Here he is.
they asked us to put him on the angel quilt. So we made a panel for him and sent it to his family, and they decorated it and sent it back to us. And they asked us if it would be possible for us to get the quilt to Salisbury so they could see it. And of course we said yes, and we're going to be in the Salisbury Center here.
Center of Salisbury.
And you can come out and meet Malcolm and see the National Angel Quilt. They will be at the Center at Salisbury this weekend. Tomorrow, 10 a.m. to 9 p.m. and then Sunday, 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. inside a store by the Children's Place.
Malcolm, thank you so much for coming in. That's an incredible story that you've got, and I know a lot of people would like to hear more about it.
And if you'd like to read more about Malcolm's story or to find out how you can help make some noise, go to delmarvalife.com and click on the Show tab.
Still to come on Delmarva Life, Brian Spiros in Lewis today with a business that has a creative name and creative work.
Yeah, Brian, it all has to do with glass.
Well, Jimmy and Lisa, Pain in the Glass is their name, and turning glass into jewelry, it's their game. When we come back, we're going to show you how they make it all happen. Stay with us. You are watching Delmarva Life. We will be right back.